Are you asking, did I put a child that's under 6 years old in a moving car that had stuff flying at it? Yeah, I did. And I'm probably going to jail for it. But before I go to jail, at least we all know why, and it's pretty rad. Hey, I'm John Krasinski, the writer-director of A Quiet Place Part 2, and this is Notes on a Scene. Ronnie, what do we got?
We got units headed out there now. EMS and fire.
Whereabouts?
I think out by Walker's Farm.
I got into the sequel world by saying I didn't want to do it. There was an immediate response from the studio that they wanted a sequel. And I think I realized in the process that I am an audience member first before I was a writer, director, or actor in the movie. And as the audience member, I've always been weary of sequels. Why would you do another one when the first one was so good? How are you going to expand the world? I had all those same questions. I had no intention of doing it. I told them to find another writer, director. And while they were sort of contemplating that, I had this tiny idea. My producing partner on the movie, Andrew Form, said, well, can you just write out an outline to give to any writer, director we hire? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And as I was writing the outline, I was halfway through it typing and I went, damn it, I'm directing this movie. If I could continue the metaphor of the first movie, if I could continue the themes and pick up right where we left off, I could actually tell a continuation story of the first movie, and that's what it became for me. The key for me, my in as a writer and as a director for it, was making Millie the lead of the movie. And when you make Millie the lead of the movie, two things happen. One, you engage one of the most talented actresses I've ever worked with, but much more than that, thematically, she opened all and unlocked all these themes and metaphors that I was dealing with in the first movie. And so the beginning of our movie takes place on the day that the creatures came down to Earth and how that happened. So this is the family that you know and that you've experienced, but obviously the town that they walked through in the first movie to get supplies is now alive and, well, for the moment, kicking. My goal was to do most everything in the opening of the movie in one take so that it would actually drop the audience into the movie, so you would actually be walking with my character. You'd be in the car with Emily, and that we'd never cut and therefore never break the energy, so you always felt like you were a part of it. So in order to do that, every single department had to be perfect that day. So what's about to happen is this was a one take where we came from up the street, and in the movie it's all in one take getting us into the truck. In order to get us out of the truck and into this stunt that's about to happen, we obviously had to replace the cop car that's about to be hit. And that takes a whole lot of reset. It also takes a whole lot of stunt people and a whole lot of safety issues. So I couldn't just get out of the car and have a police car fly through the air, and that doesn't really go well. So what we ended up doing is hiding a stitch, and a stitch is actually something where you're cutting into a new shot, but just hiding it. And this is the only stitch we did in the opening of the movie, and I'm about to show it to you right here. So as I'm getting out of the car, you will see right here, the camera and ILM break the plane of the two shots. So this is one shot here, and this is another shot, and you're gonna see my head go from one shot into the next shot, and this shot is the shot that has the stunts, and this shot is no stunts, just a dumb actor. If you guys like Hamilton, Oak is in Hamilton, the original Hamilton. That's Hercules Mulligan, y'all. He's in my movie, that's right. So what I was meaning about having to do safety, right here, there are massive flippers under the car. The car is secured by all these wires to make sure that when it flies through the air, it won't hit any people. All that has been painted out by ILM, which was Industrial Light Magic. This is ILM here, their creation of this meteor. And so what you're about to see, obviously, is a creature coming through. And this is all secured and ready to go up into the air. And we just paint everything else out that made it happen. A little tidbit, this is Brody's Pizza, the biggest reference from me in making Quiet Place. I said to my wife early on when we first met, she said, what would you want out of your career? What's your dream? I said, I'd love to direct Jaws. So this is my Jaws. And so Brody's Pizza, I named after Chief Brody. This is technically not the town we shot in the first movie. It is actually the creation of this amazing production designer, Jess Goncher. This is a real town that everything you see on the front side of it will be Jess Goncher and his amazing team. So all these signs are ours, this sign's ours, this hairpins is all ours. We designed the entire thing to feel like small town America.
Units headed out there now, EMS and fire.
Whereabouts?
I think out by Walker's Farm.
This is one of my favorite parts of the opening. In the first movie, we did this a little bit. We have now come into Millie's envelope. And what we do is anytime you're in a close-up shot of Millie, I establish that you can get into her envelope. And by that, we mean you hear the world the way she hears the world. Where I got that in the first movie was actually based on something Millie's mom told me about Millie. One day when we were first getting to know each other, I said, "Can Millie hear anything?" And her mom said, "She actually can. It's just all dimmed down as if it's been really muffled. So if there was a big sound behind her, she'd hear it, and she can hear laughter and things like that, but very, very low." So I thought, wow, what if I tried to put that in the movie actually as Millie heard? And one of the greatest moments of my career as a director was when Millie's mom saw the movie. She burst into tears because she said that I gave her something that she never thought she'd be able to do, was to actually experience the world like her daughter does. And I still to this day get choked up talking about it. So erase this before I cry. Millie's insanely smart and insanely talented, so she had a lot of ideas going through. I personally, being an actor, know that actors have a lot to say about the scripts they read. So I am willing to throw the script out the window if it means that the scene sort of shifts and changes as it goes along. Cillian Murphy actually had a bunch of lines put into the movie that he had notes on and he thought would be better for the movie, and they worked. We fired him quickly after that, but he did have ideas. We definitely shot this entire sequence first. So this sequence is pretty much shot in chronological order. Something like this we had to do at certain times of the day. So our incredible DP, Polly Morgan, the sun would have been right here in the morning, so she wanted the sun behind us, very smart. It's still incredibly hot and the sun's sort of above us, but we got bumped around due to rain. So we were trying to do this earlier and then it rained, and so we had to push this to another day, which threw the whole schedule out of whack. It's one of those things where weirdly making movies, and this just sounds so pretentious, but making movies is a little bit like jazz. And the best work, I think, comes from when people are asked to do things a day before they were supposed to do things. Again, working on pure instinct. I'm hearing something on the radio that is now transmitting to Emily's radio, and now we're into this car shot. So this is a crazy thing. There is a giant camera and a weird robotic arm that's doing this. So this robotic arm is in the back of the car, and it has a camera basically right here that can shoot at all angles. Problem with this is you have to program it. So there is no changing the shot midway. So we had to rehearse this shot for about 3 weeks with stunts, extras, set design, props, everything. And what happened was you have to program the camera exactly where it's going to be, so no one can improv or change anything on the day. That was extremely terrifying because the one thing you want is for a scene like this to feel alive. The great news is we blew up a car right in front of them and then had my wife racing through the street at top speed, basically avoiding traffic and avoiding getting hit, and then have a bus fly at her at 40 miles an hour. So I got a pretty organic performance from her. So the camera got to do its thing. This was a group called Mokos from Germany, and they, I guess, use this camera and this arm on movies like Transformers and things like that, but it had never been used like this.
It's okay, honey. It's okay, honey. It's okay, baby. Mom. Yeah. What is It's okay. It's okay. We're okay. That's okay. That's where? Mom. Oh my God.
My inspiration for shots like this was Children Men, which, if you've seen it, it does an incredible job of putting you right in the moment where terrifying things happen. And so I wanted to take that and push it a little farther. The roof was taken off the car. There's a stunt driver on top of the car. It's called a pod car, so it just looks like a little dune buggy in a roll cage, and he's actually driving the car. Emily is not driving the car. They disengage all the steering wheel and everything so Emily can make it look like she's driving, but instead she's on the best roller coaster ride of her life. I remember her favorite quote in this scene was she looked up at the driver and said, "Your life is quite literally in my hands." And this guy leaned forward, the nicest guy in the world, he leaned forward and went, "I'm the best." And that's kind of what you want to hear before you do a shot like this. One of my favorite parts about what happened today, the camera broke and started to slide forward and perfectly went into a close-up of my wife. This is a mistake. It's the best mistake I've ever made in my career. There's a lot of me that loves being an actor in the movies I am, not just because I'm conceited, but also because it's super helpful for me to direct. There's this weird magic that you can do when you're on set with your actors, because you could sort of shape the energy of the scene as you went, whether it was whispering to someone to do it again just like that or something like that, or weirdly, if you wanted someone to be emotional and you're on the other side of their scene, you can actually get emotional and they will learn that they should go more emotional in the scene because you're getting emotional. So you can weirdly direct through your acting, which is really fun. That said, I would say it should have been less stress to just direct, but I very stupidly wrote a much bigger movie, which had a lot bigger sets and a lot more special effects and stuff like that. So it was a brand new learning experience for me, and I was sort of living by the edge of my seat, which I now hope people watch the movie at the edge of their seats.
Mom.
That creature is real. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We had to train it. No, I'm just kidding.